Well, the only other thing I was wondering about is, and I think I've sort of got an answer, but I noticed that I'm not as unconditionally aligned as I'd like to be, and I am affected sometimes by other people. If there's some negativity, it affects me, and I dip. And so...
Say that in a different way. I'm focused in a world of variety, and sometimes by my observation, I focus for a long enough period of time that my guidance system lets me know that I'm taking a little bit of a vibrational dip. Mm-hmm. Always an advantage in that, because there's always a clarification that comes from it. But my intention is to catch it in the earlier subtle stages, right, so that I have more control over how I feel within the conditions. Because, we're speaking for you, I don't want to withdraw from situations in order to maintain vibration. I want to learn to maintain vibration in all situations.
Right.
Otherwise, you're running and hiding from situations or from people or from subjects.
Yes.
And then your world gets smaller and narrower rather than broader and more expanded. You don't want to train yourself to a sensitivity that means run and hide. You want to train yourself to a sensitivity that means align. Align. There isn't anything that your inner being doesn't have the ability to look at and stay in alignment about. And the same is true of you.
And so the way I'm going to do that is something's going to be said that affects me, and I'm going to find something that about the same subject that
well, maybe, but
works.
by then there's enough momentum that has taken place that it's unlikely that you're going to do anything about solving it in the moment. You're probably just going to take a vibrational hit on it. In other words, you're going to feel the emotion, and whatever is underway will undoubtedly continue to be underway. But the good news is, and your first subject of conversation with us here today is solving that, the good news is you slumber often enough that there is no momentum that ever needs to get going in a strong enough fashion that it ever needs to be much of a hindrance to you. But what happens to most, because they don't take that slumber as a clarification moment, they don't see it as a clearing of energy. Instead, they wake up and they pick up on those subjects right where they left off on them. We want to say this in a way that is absolutely accurate with the laws of the universe as we know the laws to be. You renew the momentum. The subject is forever yours. Whether it's active or not has to do with what you focus upon. But what you do with unwanted subjects is that you renew the momentum of them. Because while you slept, the momentum subsided. But when you readdress them, the momentum picks up again. So really, when we're talking about controlling your vibrational alignment and being happy in this world of variety, aren't we talking about how well you understand momentum and what you do about it? What you do about the momentum. What do you do about negative momentum? What do you do when you have a negative emotion, which means there's negative momentum, which means the engines have been added to the unwanted end of the train and you're beginning to move in that direction? What do you do about unwanted momentum? Simple question. Do you encourage it or do you discourage it? Do you increase it or do you decrease it? Do you continue to give it your attention or do you take your attention from it? So when you first get up in the morning, there's not any attention that has been on anything. Now, the first attention you give to something is going to give you a subtle awareness of what you're doing with your momentum and which direction your momentum is going. Is it in the direction of your desire or against your desire? Is it allowing or is it resisting? So if you have been meditating frequently, if you've been basking often, if you've been in a state of appreciation often, then you're going to become aware of negative momentum in early, subtle stages. And when you deal with it in early, subtle stages, it turns out to be nothing. But if you don't deal with it in early, subtle stages, then it becomes more, then it becomes more, then it becomes more on your mind, then it becomes more conversation, and then, yes?
And the dealing with it is the question. The dealing would be changing the focus, changing the thought.
The dealing with it is always softening the resistance about it, which is the same thing as saying, look at whatever the subject is, and in an attempt to see it the way Source sees it, because the fact that you feel negative emotion means you're seeing it slightly different. Slightly different. And the more momentum that is gathered, then the greater the difference in the way Source is seeing it. Because when you get rolling and flowing and blowing on something unwanted, you distance yourself vibrationally from Source. You can't tune into Source and that at the same time. Yes?
Yes.
So you want to talk through something? You want to make it more than a theoretical observation of someone who never feels negative emotion?
No, it's just in conversation. Somebody will say something that's a little negative, and I feel it, and I push against it instead of changing my own.
First of all, let's talk about
I'm not
that.
conditional.
Let's talk about that, because when you feel like you want to push against it, it means you don't want the momentum to get going.
Yes.
I
want to stop it right now, but I'm pushing.
It's all right. It's natural. So we have some words we're going to throw to you, and you let us know which ones feel stronger, which ones feel more negative, which ones feel less negative, since we are talking about resistance. When someone introduces something into the conversation, is what you are meaning by this that it feels personal to you, like it could negatively affect you right away? Does it hurt you when you hear it? Is it a sore spot with you? Is it something that is offensive to you? We're throwing a lot of questions at you all at once because we want to stir some. Is it something that you've asked them not ever to say and now they're saying it? Are you afraid of it? Are you afraid the momentum will sweep over and take you over? Do you feel guarded and fearful?
Yeah, I guess I don't feel solid enough in my unconditionalness that any little negative thing is going to wobble me, and so that's why I'm trying to push it away.
But the thing about that is, and the reason that we talk so excitedly about step 5 is because we want you first and foremost to embrace the understanding of the concept and reality of never-ending contrast in your physical human experience. Because if you're trying to push it all away, then you're just piling resistance on resistance. Why not say, hey, it's what it is. It's what it is, and it's what we chose. And it's how we think, and it's how we contour, and it's how we decide, and it's a good thing. And the fact that somebody else thinks something that I don't agree with, or says something that I don't agree with, certainly is no risk to me in this huge environment where contrast of all variety must be understood and allowed and even embraced conceptually. We're not saying that you should embrace pieces of contrast and say you like something that you don't like or promote something that you don't promote, but we want you to stop fearing contrast. This matters a lot. Being afraid of contrast makes you afraid of life. Being afraid of contrast makes you not accepting why you're here in this environment where contrast exists. We want you to laugh about contrast and be interested about contrast and allow yourself to have conversations about variety in order to help you decide what you want. Esther and friends were having lunch in several cities. And in the last city, there was a very interesting man who was their escort around the city. He was leading them from place to place. And he opened some conversations that Esther found really fascinating. She really wanted to go further with him. But they were somewhat of a very general political nature. He was talking about things around the world, not pinpointing anything. But Esther felt like he was taking their political temperature just a little bit. And Esther was fascinated to watch how carefully he maneuvered as to not get anything going in a direction where there would be offense taken, but wanted to say enough to find out who these very interesting people were. And Esther wanted to find out who this very interesting person was as well. You see, there's a big world full of lots of thinkers that have knowledge that will expand your knowledge. And further, the combination of what they know and the combination of what you know is the best of all of the worlds, you see. So when you acknowledge that what others think and what they believe and even what they do is not a threat to you, not whatsoever, because you're able to know by the way you feel whether it poses a threat to your vibrational stability or not. And that really is the way you are entertaining this conversation. In other words, you talk about how it makes you wobble a little bit and you don't want it to be a threat to your own stability. We just want you to know it cannot be. Certainly not at this stage of your vibrational, conscious, deliberate evolution. So why not just enjoy differences? You see, if you're not somebody who is running around trying to change minds, but instead you're someone who's looking for opportunity to blend your mind in a more interesting, more expansive, more valuable way, then you could find value, not just interest, but value in every conversation with every single person on every single subject, because no one can think for you. And when you let them speak for themselves, that's not a threat to you. That's a gift to you, because it helps you decide and define who you are and what you prefer. Just like looking through beautiful shops or through beautiful gardens or through beautiful buildings. Oh, the stimulation has been magnificent on this voyage, hasn't it?
Of course, they were all beautiful.
Oh, say again?
They were all beautiful in the examples you just said, you know. Beautiful buildings, beautiful gardens, beautiful.
Oh, there were streets with trash in them. There was garbage everywhere. There were some streets where you held your nose when you walked on them. There was some food that didn't taste as good as some other food. There was some service that was excellent and some service that was slow. You've had variety all along the way. But out of it, you've had mostly an expansive experience. Esther said, oh, I just love this stimulation. I've seen things that I've known about, but now I've seen them, I feel different about them. I just want to settle in here and just feel in fullness the beauty and the perfection of this moment and this moment and this moment. I can feel my expansion. I can feel my expansion. That's the way we want you to feel as you're participating with differences of all kinds. Feel your expansion and don't be afraid. Yeah.
Thanks.
Enough? Yeah.
Today you've really been talking about this rumble strip analogy.
Yes.
And I really like it. And
Which is the analogy that means tend to your vibration when you can do something about it. Don't wait until the momentum is so strong that you can't do something about it in this moment. It'll just keep you in balance more of the time. And it also points out that you easily do it in other aspects of your life. Why not get to the place where you're easily doing it relative to this thing that matters so much?
Yes.
Yes.
So obviously we don't want to end up in the ditch. So
even though you could get out.
Absolutely. Agreed.
And even though some of you like the drama of the ditch.
Absolutely. So how can we make sure that we're hearing the rumble strip?
There are some ways. One of the ways, the reason that we teach meditation is because the difference between a nap and meditation is that when you meditate, you release resistance. And the reason you release resistance is because you quiet your mind. And when you quiet your mind, you release thought. And when you release thought, you release resistant thought. So your vibration just naturally rises and you can feel it happen. It's a more lasting change in your vibrational frequency. So if you meditate every day so that you are consciously aware of the shifting upward of your vibration, then you are more aware when you begin to deviate from it. So if your set point is here and some little problem happens, you're going to feel it. Where if your set point is here and some little problem happens, you're not going to feel it. In other words, that's why negative emotion gets stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, because you're oblivious to it. Sometimes people say, oh, it just came out of the blue. And we say, it didn't come out of the blue, it came out of the oblivious. But when you are meditating or basking or making lists of positive aspects or appreciating, then you're tuning yourself to those higher frequencies, which makes the lower frequencies more noticeable to you.
Perfect. Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yes.
Thank you.
Enough?
Absolutely.